But if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you, then choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve. Whether the gods your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates, or the gods of the Amorites, in whose land you are living. But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. That is Joshua 24:15. Welcome back to Something for the Soul. The title of this episode is called Follow the Leader. This episode sort of ties back to cancel culture in the sense that you should come out from among those that are in the world. But it dives a little deeper in the sense of you need to make a decision. As you start on your new faith journey, you will be faced with temptation. Specifically, temptation to go back to the way things were before. Once you've given your life over to Christ and have gotten serious about your salvation and being made over, your life will change instantly. You will notice the people that you used to hang with may not want to hang with you anymore. Your friend circle will get smaller and smaller. For some, this can be daunting to them, especially if they have codependent tendencies, or perhaps have some type of a childhood trauma that requires them to want to have acceptance and approval from others. Acceptance and approval is what makes following the narrow path of righteousness difficult for some, if not most. The disease to please. Whether we realize it or not, we've been conditioned to fall into the fold. We've been conditioned to do as instructed and be compliant. Now, these attributes or lessons are noble, but can be detrimental to the spirit. What fold are you falling into? Whose instruction are you following? The people of the world or the one who created it? Well, what if I'm ostracized? What if I'm made fun of? What if I'm alone? Well, I'm afraid of being alone and being without anyone. I'm afraid of going against the grain because what would that look like for my life once I start doing that? People will think I'm strange if I'm not doing what's the trend. Matthew 10, verse 28 says, "Do not be afraid of those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather, be afraid of the one who can destroy both soul and body in hell." You have a body, but inside of that body, you have a soul, a spirit, a part of you that lives forever. Don't be ashamed of God. Don't be ashamed of welcoming Him into your heart and into your life. When you stand boldly with God, He will stand with you all the days of your life. In Daniel 3, there is a story of the three Hebrew boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They refused to bow down to the gold statue of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon. King Nebuchadnezzar ordered a golden statue, and he ordered everyone in Babylon to bow down and worship it. But the three Hebrew boys refused. And then King Nebuchadnezzar told them that if they didn't bow down and worship his statue, that they will immediately be thrown into a furnace. Standing firm in the God they served, the three Hebrew boys continued to refuse to worship the statue. King Nebuchadnezzar was so angry at what he considered to be their defiance and their non-compliance that he ordered the furnace to be turned up 7 times hotter. He had Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego bound. They were tied up and they were thrown into the furnace. But while in the furnace, there appeared to be a fourth man in the flames. Shocked at what he saw, King Nebuchadnezzar called for the 3 Hebrew boys to come out of the furnace. All 3 came walking out of the furnace, without their hands bound, with not one piece of their garment scorched, and not one of them smelled of smoke. This story here shows that regardless of what is the popular way, of what the world leader says you should do, if it is not pleasing to God, and if it is not in accordance with His word, you should not be doing it. The first commandment is, "Thou shalt not have any other gods before me." In Deuteronomy 6:14 it says, "Do not follow other gods, the gods of the peoples around you." The 3 Hebrew boys knew that commandment and they followed that commandment. If they were to bow down to that statue, they would have been reverencing that statue as their idol and the king of Babylon as their god. Even if what you're standing up against seems scary, if I go against this, something really bad's going to happen. I may go without. I may be ostracized. I may lose my job. I may not have friends. Stand firm and know that when you choose God over man, He will never let you stumble. Psalms 91, verses 9 through 12 says, "If you say the Lord is my refuge, and you make the Most High your dwelling, no harm will overtake you. No disaster will come near your tent. For He will command His angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. They will lift you up in their hands so that you will not strike your foot against a stone." Isaiah 54:17 says, "No weapon forged against you will prevail, and you will refute every tongue that accuses you." These 2 scriptures were revealed in the story of the 3 Hebrew boys. They abided in God, and God rescued them. When King Nebuchadnezzar saw how the 3 Hebrew boys were unaffected by the fiery furnace, he said, "Praise be to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent His angel and rescued His servants. They trusted in Him and defied the king's command and were willing to give up their lives rather than serve or worship any god except their own God. Therefore, I decree that the people of any nation or language who say anything against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be cut into pieces and their houses be turned into piles of rubble, for no other God can save in this way." Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. See, not only did God rescue Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, but He also vindicated them. They abided in God and His word, and they lived, and then they were promoted. And I think maybe even the best thing out of this was that even the king of Babylon witnessed the glory of God, and he couldn't deny who the true living God is. When you are a true born-again Christian and you're following Christ, you're going to be tempted and ostracized by the world. But we must remember, we were born into this world. We are not of it. We are not to serve the gods, the idols, the trends, or the culture of this world. We are to follow God and God only. And when it seems hard, remember, God is with you. God is with His people in times of temptation, and He's with His people in times of trial. And when it seems lonely, remember, in Isaiah 43:2, God says, "When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you." Nothing can separate us from the love of God. If God be for us, who can be against us?